Thank you, Maddie. Thank you, Maddie. Maddie, by the way, she did the video that you saw too. Well, I did the video and she helped me with that. But no, she did the video and set this up, so we're very grateful. And let me tell you, today, for those of you that are visiting with us, we're glad that you're here. Some of you are here because you know why you're here. You're here because of Doug and LouLyn. But for some of you that do not, today is a special day in the life of our church, in that we are recognizing and just worshiping together. And this is one of those things for me where it all comes together, because we are in a time of stewardship promotion in the life of our church. And you're going to think, well, this has nothing to do. Well, yeah, it does. I mean, this is a good stewardship lesson today about using your gifts, abilities, opportunities for the Lord. And that's really what stewardship is, because Doug and LouLyn has been on our staff for 33 years, part-time doing our preschool. And then Doug came on, has been our children's minister now for just under 25 years in doing that. And so they are retiring from those two responsibilities. They're staying here, but in fact, LouLyn's still going to be connected to the school, but they just felt this was the time for them. And so you're going to hear from them in just a few moments and for others. But we wanted to take today to recognize them, to thank them. It's a great time to remember. I will tell you, as I walk around this morning, I have kind of everything in my mind, and just by walking around a little bit and thinking about several things, it's totally different. So I'm not sure where it goes here in that, because it's just great things to think about and lessons that we are here to learn. So we're having a time for them. I want to go ahead and say this, make sure I don't forget it. This afternoon, we're having a reception for them from 3 to 5, a drop-in. We hope that you'll come and just give you a chance to just say a word to them, to see some things that we prepared, and just to remember. We want it to be a great day for them, but it is a great day for our church in a number of reasons that most of us, we don't even think about, because we many times take that for granted. But if you're a guest here today, I want you to know what's going on. Some of you have come just for them, and we're delighted that you're here and want you to make yourself at home. This is a very important part in the life of our church and with our kids, and you've just seen a little bit of that. In fact, a good illustration is Maddie was in our children's ministry. And so here she is working in it, and she was in there, been a part of that, and now giving leadership in that. And that's just an encouragement to me as she works for us in these areas and works also with our social media. So we're very grateful for that. But it's kind of growing that up there, and that's been a wonderful, wonderful blessing, as her family's been so active in the life of our church, and so we're just grateful for that. So today we're just going to spend a little time thinking about it, remembering it. It's if you've been here a long time, you really don't think about this because you kind of take it for granted. And you just don't see, there are not a lot of 25 or 30-year children's folks running around, folks, I'm telling you. There aren't many of them. Most of them, they die an early death, okay? It wears them out. They are accident in a game or something, it's something there. But you don't see that much. And it's something many times that we take for granted. And what a wonderful time it's been for us. And every time something happens in our children's ministry, in our preschool ministry, it will impact the rest of our ministries and vice versa. But it all comes together on that. And so we're very, very grateful for that. And you see so many ways for where that happens. And so many of you could have testimonies today, experiences that you've had working in children or in preschool, in Bible school, in children's camp, in Awana, and just a myriad of activities that are there. You've been a part of that, and you've experienced that blessing, and you have had an impact. It has probably never been more important than it is right now. The challenges that we face with children, there's almost, I don't know that I'd say it every day, but I would say at least several times a week, I am confronted with another challenge that we as believers face, where our kids are under attack. And much of that was not on the scene, and it did not exist many years ago. But it is something that comes in. So therefore, we must be prepared. So as these challenges come, as we live in more of an ungodly culture, as we live in more of a humanist culture, where there is sometimes out and out persecution, as there has been in our country, and a lack of religious freedom. As that comes to pass, that means there's more of a responsibility, because they're not going to be told the truth. They're not going to be told the truth by the humanist system in which we live, and that puts so much more pressure on parents, and that we have to think carefully. I used to say that with parents, what you pray is that you'll have, not only as being parents, but you'll have what I call weak side help. You'll have somebody to assist you. It's like a game where you get the assist, or you have another player on your team. Well, in the world in which we live today, there are fewer of those that are weak side help. We have to, the help is not so common, and the danger is much greater. But we have been greatly blessed in our preschool and children's ministry over these many years. And as I said, you just don't see places that have that type of track record. And so I want you to see that. I asked one couple, Dale and Tara Lowry, would y'all come right now? And they've been very active in our church. Tara grew up in our church. Carol Moore is her mother, and James and Carol Moore, and she was able to overcome Carol being her mother, and but they have been very active in the life of our church, but have been very active. They're a great illustration. I asked them to do this because they're a great illustration of people that have been impacted by our children preschool ministry. I mean, Tara, even before Tara grew up in that, and then they've been participants, they've been parents, they're now grandparents that are in our ministry, they've been workers. How long have y'all worked preschool children's ministry?
About 28, 29 years.
It's a long time, and Dale's getting to where he's good at it. So how did y'all start doing that?
Tara started it first. I stayed in adult class. She went on. She was doing 4-year-olds?
3-year-olds with Phyllis Scott.
Oh, yes.
4-year-olds, yeah. So then finally I decided I probably need to venture into it too, you know. We need to do it as a couple. So I ended up going in there too, and we was doing the preschool, and you know, it's basically getting down on you in the floor, coloring and singing songs with them, playing with them, and just, you know, tell them everything you can tell them about the Lord.
That wasn't something that you would have said back in those years, that would have said, well, you know, that's a natural, you might have said that for her, but wasn't a natural thing for you.
No,
I mean, that wasn't a natural thing, was it, Dale?
no.
But it really became, I mean, it became y'all's ministry.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
completely.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's like that conversation we had about COVID. And you made a decision, it's time to start back, the Sunday school's back. And I come up to you, and you remember, I told you, I said, Ma, that's the best thing you ever done. I said, I miss going to my Sunday school class and teaching those kids.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that conversation. And that was one of the things, by the way, church and school, that was one of the things that we said in this, because we needed to get back in there and get back into those kids' lives. And that's one, frankly, one example I hadn't even thought about, but was so important there.
Yeah.
But y'all have seen this, and you've seen generations. I'll tell you something else too. In preschool and children's ministry, in church-wide ministry, you look at generations. Okay, and so therefore you say, well, you have one generation here, and then you have their parents, and it's another generation, and then if you have grandparents, that's another generation. Let me tell you something. In preschool and children, you work with multiple generations. I hadn't figured out yet, because now y'all work with what age now?
We do 5th grade.
5th grade. So what you have is, folks, it's a changing world, and this is not exact, but I mean, hey, listen, it's a different world completely different world from 0 to 5, and then it's another completely different world when you're in elementary school. So, and literally, you've got kids that are changing every year. So you're having almost generational changes every year. I mean, y'all have had so many classes now.
Oh, yeah, I got kids. My first class, they got kids.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
know? Taylor Anderson was one of my first group of kids, you know, and I know he has children now and stuff too.
Yes. So, I mean, so they're having multiple generations, but my point is, in leadership, Doug and LouLyn have had, I'm not sure how many generations until you learn to count it up, but it would be multiple generations there that have made the difference. And but talk to them a little bit about how Doug and LouLyn have been kind of an encouragement to you, just the guidance, helping you get started in this.
Me and Doug, we have a great relationship. The best part of my on Sundays is when Doug comes around and checks on us. I get that big bear hug. I love him to death. I love LouLyn. And they've been wonderful to us and our family, you know, ministering to us and stuff, and you know, just supporting us and the things we do in our class. And it's just amazing the energy that they produce. It kind of goes into you know, the things that they do. And they've been wonderful to us, our family. Tara and LouLyn were in the hospital together, and it was one day apart. Our sons, Gabe and Austin, you know, and that was just kind of neat. We went down and see LouLyn when we was there, you know. Tara was in there, and it was just great. We, you know, other than church, you know, we have a great, you know, relationship outside of church and stuff like that.
But they've been a part, and they're like a lot of other. Tara, I want you to say something there.
Yeah. Well, one of the most important times was when our two sons, Reed and Gabe, decided to invite Jesus into their hearts. And so we did that at home, but Pastor Doug ministered to them in his office, and he got down on the floor, and he got to their level, and he made sure that they knew exactly what they had done. And then that's when he started that handprint on the wall.
Yep.
And that meant so much to me.
Yep. But they ministered not only as leaders in the ministry that you have, that's become, gosh, a lifelong ministry for y'all.
And also, they took all 3 of my kids to kids camp, and that was the best time in their lives.
Yeah.
I think they started that in the 3rd grade and went all the way up to the 6th grade.
Yes.
And then Erica and her friends became, they were helpers at the camp. So they look forward to that every year. That was a big part of their relationship with Jesus, growing.
It's
at
a
the
good,
camp.
it's a good illustration that everybody's got stories. And whether they're Sunday school or kids camp or Bible school or Awana or just all of those things that are there, everybody's got a story of what happens with their kids. But while they've been running a massive program, they were investing in y'all's lives and in the lives of your kids.
Yeah, the best thing to do is just go to the stairwell. I mean, you want to see an investment, go to that stairwell. That's one of my favorite spots to go. I love walking down there, and I put my hand in my son's handprints and stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
And some of the kids that went through my class,
Yes.
Because, it's just, I mean.
Something you don't know, if you go out the stairwell here, it goes up a couple floors there where the kids that we started this years ago have been baptized. We have a handprint, and they do their handprint. And so there's just hundreds of them out there that are there, and it has the name and the date. And I have people tell me all the time that they go by and look at that and see their own name. Maddie helped. I'm right on this, aren't I, Maddie? The other day, and Maddie was helping someone do their handprint, and it was near her handprint. And so while she was helping this little boy, little girl do their handprint, she looks over and she sees her handprint. And so what a wonderful thing it is for that. And we're just we're very grateful for you. And by the way, I know their close relationship, but I want to tell you something. Today, it's a celebration of their leadership. But I'm going to tell you something, folks. It's a celebration for many of you. Some of you, there are people in here that you did this for years, and it's not your thing right now, or maybe you are in it, or maybe you will do it somewhere. But I'm telling you, what we're looking at here in these many years, it's not just Doug and LouLyn doing it all. They didn't teach every class. They didn't do every one. They organize that ministry, but it's about, as we're going to see in a few minutes, hundreds of people that are a part of that. And Dale and Tara have been a part of that, and I just asked them to represent that. Thank y'all for sharing that with us today. We appreciate it. Thank you, Dale. We are so grateful for them, and for so many of you that do that we never have to think about that, about our kids being cared for. I had someone say to me recently, it happens to me all the time, that somebody will come up and talk about something that happens with their child in the children's ministry, and how much it meant about just in recent weeks that I think it was someone that was new in our church that came and brought their kids, and they went there, and there's someone there to take care of their kids. They're there waiting on them on Sunday morning when they bring them to Bible study. And what a great lesson that is, and how grateful we are for them and for their family. And we're grateful. Their kids are here today, and in this surface. Jason and Megan Gray are here. Megan is their oldest daughter. They're sitting right back over here with Doug and LouLyn, and we're so glad y'all are here. And I think Caitlin and Cameron and Austin are going to be in the next service, unless they're not someplace different, are they? They're in the next service. Okay, so they're in the next service of doing that. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm grateful. I'm appreciative of Megan and Caitlin and Austin. You know, listen, folks, it's not the easiest growing up in the largest family maybe in the world. Okay, because that's about what it was. I mean, that's just about what it was. I mean, you know, well, somebody say, well, do you have kids? Yeah, we have 2 kids. We have 3 kids. No, yeah, we have kids. Several hundred of them right now, and it's in the thousands that we've had with kids, and so they tried to live. I mean, I'm telling you, because there was something happening all the time, and I'm very grateful for for Megan and Caitlin and for Austin, and how Doug and LouLyn handled that in their own home, but they were there have been there for anything and everything that's there, and that the Lord has used this. I'm going to ask Doug and LouLyn to come and join me here for a couple minutes. I want you to hear a little bit from them. Those of us that have been around here a long time and have been deeply involved in this, there's so much that we know, and so much that we see. We take that for granted, and they have lived with that and seen that. But I want you to hear a little bit from them. Some of you haven't seen that before, but we talked about this. We had a lunch together as a staff this week, and just had a lot of good memories. Some of those things could be said in here. Some of them could not. And there were a lot of people that needed to be protected in that. But at any rate, but Doug was sharing that. I wanted you to hear a little bit how the Lord has done this, and I wanted Doug to share a little bit. And LouLyn's thing is, y'all can do this how you want to do it together here, but a little bit of their call, how they got into this, and how so.
Thank you. All right, so I didn't really grow up going to church. My family weren't church goers, and so, but I prayed to receive Christ early, young, in a church, and so, but we just didn't go. Like, I wasn't really discipled in a church. Didn't really know much about that growing up. It just wasn't a big part of my life. And when I started dating LouLyn, she was all about church, and so she was a hottie then and a hottie now, and I wanted to date her. So I told, she said, well, yeah, if you'll go to church with me. And so I did what all of us guys do. I lied and said, I'm in church like every Sunday. What are you talking about? I'll have to call my pastor, maybe be like a whole thing if I'm not there. But none of that was true. But I started going to church, and just, God is just amazing. He reached back for me. I had already prayed to receive Christ, but I just didn't know much about him. I didn't know how to follow him. I wasn't a disciple of his, and he just gently led me and opened my heart to him. And so now we're fast forward. We've got kids, and we're still in this little bitty country church, and we're very serious about our faith and about witnessing. And so we go to church on Sunday mornings and go back on Wednesday nights and Sunday nights, and our kids would be the only ones there. So it became clear to me, we need something better for our children. We need a place where they can be with other kids, not just be the only kids at church, and not be 4-year-old in a class with 5th and 6th graders. They just need more. So that was what brought us here. We started visiting churches. We came here, fell in love with this church, all right? So we start coming to this church now. And so we had visited a lot of different places, but this was the one. And had no idea, no clue that God would call me into ministry. That was not even a thought. And so I would sit back here in the back, and we came to church, and we were faithful here at the church. We didn't just sit in the back. We got involved, and so it wasn't long. LouLyn was, asked to be the preschool director here and working part-time. And so the church did the very first ever Global Impact Conference. I don't know how many of you remember here. We're here for that very first ever Global Impact Conference. So we had the opportunity to personalize with missionaries, get to know them. So we hosted in our family, had missionaries come and stay with us. And so I kind of joked in staff meeting, it's really not much of a joke, but I grew up watching Tarzan. I knew what a missionary was. It's an airplane pilot, a priest, and a nun. That was it. I know that. Right? I've watched Tarzan. I know that. And so, but I didn't know it was just regular people. I had no idea. Everybody that I knew, Randy Hahn, all of our friends, everybody I knew, either was not in ministry or knew from a child that that's what they were supposed to do. Here I am in my 30s, and and so we host this missionary, and so the Lord just begins to show me, wait, like ordinary people. Like, because this is a description of me, an ordinary guy, right? Nothing special. And so through that, I was like, so that's what God uses? Like just ordinary people. I didn't know that. Like I thought it was a special, like you had to know from a child and all this. And you either had to run from him or whatever, and I didn't have any of that experience. So we do our second Global Impact Conference, and just a whole year in my Bible studies, and just the Lord is just growing me. At our second Impact Conference here at this church, that's when the Lord called me to ministry. And I struggled with those words. I didn't know what that meant. I remember meeting with Mike and saying, look, I don't want to say those words, called to ministry, because I don't know what that means. Like, I can't tell you I'm called to ministry. Here's all I know. I got to do more for God. I got to do more for Him. It's not okay anymore for me to just work my job, witnessing to people, and then just serve Him in the extra time. Like I got to do that all the time. I know that's what He's called me to do, but I don't have any idea what. And so just through other mission trips, and we're here at this church, and I'm a volunteer in the children's ministry, but it just didn't dawn on me that children's ministry might be it. But just through a mission trip that I went on and a Bible study that I'm doing, going on short-term trips here at the church, the Lord just made it clear to me that what He was calling me to do is children's ministry. And I've told this so many times. I've told Mike, when Mike offered me this position, I didn't have a resume. No reason to hire me as a children's minister. There was none. I was a packaging engineer who was just faithful at the church and said, hey, I want to do this. And Mike said, come and do it with me. And I'll never, ever forget that. I'm grateful to this day. No reason to hire me to do that job. But I have loved it. And here's my analogy. If you can take yourself back to being like 9 years old on Christmas morning, all right? And you come down the stairs, and there's the tree, and there's some stuff under that tree, and you know you're going to get it, right? That's what it was like for me when He offered me this job, when He offered me this opportunity. That's the joy that I felt in coming to serve the Lord here in this children's ministry. And it has been an honor, an absolute honor. God can use anybody, and He just allowed me to serve Him. So.
And I've told both of them to give me a signal when I talk too much, because obviously that's what nope, stop. I need a little minute, because it's been amazing. And the look back as we were talking to the staff and, just going through the faithfulness of God, to hear Him talk about this has just been such a blessing, because the Lord used this church to grow us and to, and he just allows us to minister where He blessed us. He allows us to, we came here for a children's ministry, never knowing He was going to gift us the opportunity to work in this children's ministry. And it's been, I've heard Doug tell Pastor Mike, besides our marriage and raising our kids, this has been the joy of our life. And so one of the things that I thought, you often don't hear all of the details laid out like this, because you don't have time to hear all my details. You have your own life. But it was very fun to think back over those times, because while we were in the middle of it, we didn't know what the Lord was calling us to. I thought I was on a fast boat to China. I didn't know what this was going to look like. He was calling us into ministry, and we didn't know what that looked like. I was already serving as the preschool director part-time while I was home with my kids, and just trying to follow Doug and do what the Lord was calling him into. And I will never forget, our girls were, our Austin was a baby, but our girls walked through this call with us. And so I remember lots of table conversations where, Doug would talk about, the Lord told me this, I've been studying this, and I think this is what the Lord's saying. And It might be that we're going to be, going to another country, missionaries. I don't know what the Lord's saying. And so Megan, our oldest, who's with us today, said, the Lord's not calling me to missions. And so I said, well, you're like 7. You've got to go wherever your dad goes. You can't just, you got to submit like I got to submit, sister. We're in this together. And so as we worked through that with our little girls at the table and would just talk through everything, I will not forget the night that we went to another church to interview. And we were, I was like, what? We're going to do what? And Doug said, well, he ran into a former pastor who wanted to, knew that Doug was being called into ministry, wanted to talk to him about coming to his church. And Doug was still working full-time and going to seminary and doing all the things to get ready to go, to the mission field, we thought, at the time. And so as he's doing that, this opportunity came up, and he said, I've never interviewed for a ministry job. We've got to go. I don't know what that looks like. We got to go see. And so in the meantime, our girls had, specifically Megan, said, I like our church. We want to stay here. We're not going to go to another church, surely. And so that night when we said, we're going over there, your granny's staying here to take care of y'all, and we'll be back, she was adamant. Why, they kept saying, well, why can't you be the children's pastor for our church? Why can't we stay there? And we were like, we love our children's pastor. We have a children's pastor. They don't need a children's pastor at our church. We're, going to go to this other church. And she was not happy about it, and let that be known. Her husband will testify. You know when she's not happy, right? So anyway, she let us know. She was very verbal. When we got back that night, and so the girls told us, well, we're just going to pray about it. And so we said, well, that's fine. Yeah, pray. Talk to the Lord. Stop talking to us about it. And so when we got back that night, Pastor Mike called our house. And he's only done that, y'all. I'd been working for him 6 years already, and he had called my house twice. It was not good news when he had called, right? You don't want a phone call from your pastor when you're, the preschool director. It's usually a trouble. So he'd only called twice in 7 years, and I picked up the phone, and we were just about to go to bed. Like we were going to bed. I had heard the voicemail, and it was Pastor Mike, so I picked up, and I said, yes, sir. He said, what? He said, I'm sorry to call you so late. I said, no problem. We just got back from that interview that I had told you about. And he said, what happened? So I'm talking like I am now, 90 miles an hour, just explaining everything to him and saying, And so I said, but you called to tell me something. What did you call to tell me, Pastor Mike? And he said, well, I wanted to let you know that Tommy Sherber, who was our children's pastor at the time, has called me, and he's going into another business, and we're going to tell the church on Sunday. This is on a Thursday night, and he said, we're going to tell the church on Sunday. I wanted to make sure everything's good for Sunday morning. Is everything set? I mean, you're preschool, you're set. Do you need anything? Because on Sunday we're going to be telling this to the church. And I couldn't breathe. And I said, yes, we're fine, and hung up. Yes, we're okay, hung up. And Doug said, what in the world? And I said, Tommy Sherber has resigned, and he's going to go into another business he's working on that the Lord's moving him into. And Doug's eyes were this huge. And he said, because he had only found out recently, the Lord had only revealed that it was children's ministry recently. And so we didn't speak a word to the girls. We didn't say anything about it. We just kept praying, Lord, what are you doing here? This is crazy. This is crazy stuff. And so we were praying through it, didn't say anything to the girls. On a Sunday night, many of you remember this, Pastor Mike was here with Tommy and Kathy and talking about the call that they had. And we were on this side over here with our girls. They were 2 rows in front of us with the Han girls. And when he said, Tommy and Kathy are going to be moving out of children's ministry, those girls turned around like one head to look back at us to say, we've been praying, we told you. So we were Doug just looked at him and said, and they turned back around and listened. But it's amazing to think about the intimacy of our God, how he handles every single detail when we follow him. And we don't know a lot of times what he's doing or why he's doing it. And it's just been an amazing ride. We have loved it, and we thank y'all. We appreciate you.
Amen. Well, one of the things that you realize, amen. One of the things that you realize is this has made a difference in some of your lives, because that's what happens. God uses what he does in another life, as he did with them, to change that. And I mean, I remember that very vividly, and I remember thinking, boy, the Lord has filled this slot for us real quick here, and it was really a great thing. But it not only it's impacted countless numbers of children, it's impacted a lot of people here too, and that's why it's so important. We can never take this for granted. You might be here today, and maybe you're not involved in this or haven't been, and that's okay, because you may have a ministry someplace else in that. But if you have been involved in, it's done that. I want us to do something here. If you have ever taught children's Sunday school or preschool Sunday school, if you've ever worked in Awana, if you've ever worked in Bible school, if you have, what else is there? Bible school, nursery. If you've ever helped us in child evangelism, you've done anything in our children preschool ministry, past or not just now, but in the past at some time. If you've ever done that at all, I don't care if it's just one time or two, I want you to just stand right where you are. And you look around, that's a pretty amazing thing of hundreds of people.
Y'all did it.
Amen. I look out, let me tell you something. I look out and I see some of you that are standing up, and I tell you what, some of you, I can't even believe we let you in a room with a child. I thought that's really, no, hey, listen, no, but it's a great, and for some of you, like Dale talked about, it becomes a life-changing thing. Thank you. You may be seated. But what a wonderful thing it is to see that of the hundreds of people that have done that, and we're so grateful for them. And there's the countless numbers of lives that they have touched, and that they have done just in every way possible. You never saw it coming, but the Lord just used it, and He brought somebody on the field there, or somebody in a class, and that, or in a nursery or someplace, and it just, God just used them in a tremendous way. Many of you that you stood up, they had to ask you several times, and they did. And some of you hate them because they nagged you into the ground. Okay, and they would do that because they knew you could do that. They knew that you could. They saw that in you, and they gave you that opportunity to do that. And so we're just very, very grateful. There just aren't many people. You think this is wonderful. I'm telling you something. Most churches don't get an opportunity like this. They never see this. They don't even believe this exists. That you could look at somebody who's done children's ministry for 25 years and done what they've done, and for LouLyn's even longer than that, and do that. And you never know how the Lord is going to move this, and how God's going to do something there. I told Doug this earlier today, and I'm so grateful. I only thought about this morning because I take it for granted. I can never remember, and boy, I'm telling you what, maybe I should have been, but I wasn't. We've taken kids everywhere, and they've done everything, and I mean, it was stuff. We were going in every direction all the time for everything you can possibly imagine. But I'll tell you what, I can never, this is a big deal, I can never remember ever in that 25 years being concerned about the safety of one of our kids. And because I'm going to tell you something, it's in their giftedness, they both did. But Doug would think of things that no one else would think of. And so when I think about that, I'm very grateful for that. And I'll tell you the one thing, and I've not said this to him, one of the things that I'm sick of, and have been sick of this for a long time, and is what Doug said. Doug says this all the time. He doesn't realize this, but I can't tell you how many times I've heard this statement. We'd be talking about something we're doing, and usually it's church-wide, and it's something about, it could be about missions or evangelism or Sunday school or any number of things. And this is in a smaller group, we're talking about this. And Doug will sit there, and then he'll say, and I've heard say it so many times, well, and it's something like this. Well, I didn't grow up with this, or I don't know anything about this. I don't have that background there, that training is doing that. And he would always say that in a very humble way. He said, I don't know about that. And then he would give us the answer. And many times what he would say, because of his abilities in management and his abilities in discernment and his ability to think broadly in that, would say that. And many times he's helped us that when you see that, you don't think about that all the time, and you see, and he would come up and say, boy, that's something. A lot of times it's changed something completely. But every time he said that, and he has said that, I don't know about this. I've never done this before. Over and over and over again. I've never done anything. I guess you're ready then, because this is something we're going to need to do, because it is like that.
Can I tell a funny story?
Yeah.
Y'all, the first time that Doug did Bible school, I remember him telling me this story after the first day of Bible school. And so we had been involved in Bible school here, but he hadn't. He was at work. So my kids and I were in Bible school and all the things. And so he was hired in May, maybe, and the Bible school's in June. And so he was standing at the back of the room, and we had a big crowd. This was before we started the daycares, but it still was a big crowd of kids. And so he was nervous. He was decked out in whatever crazy costume he was wearing that day and about to come in, but he was very nervous when he opened the door. Pastor Mike saw him at the back, and they were in the lobby, and he said, Doug said, are you okay? What's going on? And Doug said, yeah, I'm just a little nervous, Pastor. There's, 500 kids in there, or whatever the number was. And he said, and Pastor Mike said, well, Doug, it's just like you're okay. You're going to be fine. It's just like any other Bible school you've ever done. And Doug said, Pastor Mike, I've never been to Bible school in my life. And he said, Pastor Mike's face just drained of all blood, and his eyes were huge. And it was hysterical.
I tell you what, I didn't remember that, but I can tell you at the moment, I wasn't scared then, because I thought, this is good, because we're going to do something different. And it was. And we sure did. So, but anyway, we're just so grateful for them and for the impact that they've made, not on our kids' lives, but on our lives. And how grateful we are that they're here, so we know them and love them and appreciate them. And I'm grateful for right now. I tell you what, I sat down and just their leadership, whether it was with Kendra and Awana or with Vonda in preschool or Maddie. I sat down. I thought, oh man, thinking about interim and how we'd rethink things and all that. We're in good shape because of the leadership that they have had there and built that and that, and so to see that happen. So I want us just to have a time of prayer for them, and we're going to close our service with this, because I want you to hear this, I want you to see this, I want you to experience this, and I hope that you will have the opportunity to come this afternoon. So you'll want to say a personal word to them, and you'll want to say, they'll be around, but just things that you can probably remind them of the things that happened in your life because of their ministry maybe that they never knew. And just to pray for them, to pray for the future of our ministry and what God has for us next, and doing that to them, and how the Lord brings that together. God put that together, and the Lord orchestrated that and did that, and we just give Him praise and honor and glory in that. So I want us just to have that time of prayer. Thank you for being here today. I know it's a little bit different, but I'm telling you, this is how church works. And when we talk about stewardship, we're not talking about just money. We're talking about time and talents, and they've used those things. And I'm going to tell you something. Doug's union camp experience, because that's where he was when he came here, has been a help to us. It's been a help to us. LouLyn's done so many things, we haven't found out yet what she can do in that. But no, I thought about this standing right here. She starts off as an educator, and she's an educator, and she knew everything about education, and she was a preschool mom, but we weren't sure which way we were going there. And then she did that and has done numerous things here. She's back involved with our school. It has been involved with our school, and it will continue to be involved with our school, but it's the way that Lord takes it around there, and she's in a significant place there. So you just never know what God's going to do. And the last thing I'd say is, you know what? The same thing that God does with them, He does with us. And we need to learn from that. You need to learn from that. I need to learn from that. That the Lord does that, and I need to be open to what the Lord wants me to do. So I want us just to pray together, and just grateful for them, and for what they mean to us. And boy, for the countless lives. 'Cause I run into people all the time that grew up here, and they talk about what happened to them in children's ministry and preschool ministry, and how grateful we are for that. So let's pray together. Father God, we thank you for this time today. Lord, I thank you for Doug and LouLyn. Lord, I thank you for what they have meant to me, and Lord, for the witness, the team members that they have been, Lord, for the example that they've been, Lord, for the wisdom that they had in so many areas that you've used in the life of our church. Lord, I thank you for the countless numbers of kids, thousands of kids that have been touched by their ministry. Lord, I pray that you would watch over and keep them, because, Lord, you know, somehow you'll do it differently. It's a different way, but you'll continue to use them in 100 different ways. They don't have to be doing that ministry to be used in another way. Lord, I pray that you just watch them. Thank you for their precious kids, and Lord, I pray that you'd help us to look and see, God, what is it that you have for us next? Because they're more concerned about that than anyone, because this was their not just their baby in terms of children. It was their baby in terms of a ministry, what they built. Thank you, Lord, for those that went before. And Lord, I pray today for Merle C., who we love so much. I pray for Merle. That God, I don't think it was Doug and LouLyn I'm talking, probably none of this would have happened if it hadn't been for Merle. Lord, that's the way you pulled all that together. And for the hundreds of leaders, God, for so many of these people in here, that Doug and LouLyn have been very successful, because a lot of people in here made them successful, because they showed up and they called that kid and loved that kid and talked to that family and taught that lesson, and were in that Bible school, and they were in a wallet. Lord, they have made us what we are. And so we're celebrating that as a family today. So bless us, Lord, in this Bible study hour now, and in the activities of this day. We pray in Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for being here. We'll I hope to see you this afternoon at the reception at 3 o'clock. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Is that okay with y'all? Yeah, man. Huh?